Hello, Greta. Welcome, welcome. I know that Misu and Jesse did not achieve success this month, but hopefully they'll show up with something next month and we'll get to roast them double hard. But as always, the good pupil is here on time and she's got stuff for us to discuss. So after I do yours, I'll probably just do some painting on stream, do some mermaid stuff, and we'll call it a day, okay? So first of all, is my volume okay? I'm gonna assume it's okay, so let's get started. We're going to first figure out our perspective, see if everything lines up, because that is the most important thing for what we're studying right now, especially for you at least, I think. Let's bust out our perspective. Great. Is goof? Well, that's very disheartening, Greta. Maybe I just don't like how you think of my volume. If our vanishing point is over here, I think, did you use like a 3D model for the angle for this? Nope. The D and F are right next to each other, so D's in the chat then. Okay, so I can kind of tell that this was free-handed a little bit, so we're gonna see how we're gonna show you what's the issue here. If you can imagine, I'm guessing your vanishing point is somewhere here. And so to make your picture not look super duper flat, especially from like this top down super far away angle, you will want to exaggerate just a little bit of their perspective. Of course, we're not going to be super accurate because we're not using like any 3D models or anything, but you do want to use the perspective to your advantage. So in this instance, I would actually push this closer in so you get the kind of very tapered, snatched in angle. I don't think that's how you do it. Shoot. That's the best I can do from there. And scoot these seats over. That way it feels like there's more space for the seats instead of what we have right now, because it feels very crowded. Shoot. And we'll just edit a little bit, but I think you are getting a lot better with your angles so far for like perspective, so good job on that. I think all the practice is working out for you. I'm not going to talk about the shadows just yet, so I'm just going to copy whatever colors you used at the moment. Okay, let's turn off the rendering for a second so we don't get too confused just yet. Yeah, I think 3D models are good if you're like one of those webtoon artists and you're trying to get a background done real quick because the deadline's like in a week. But if we are as artists, we might want to try to practice doing it sometimes without the 3D model, just so you can get a sense of like, oh, this is how you actually do perspective, and so when you are freehanding stuff, it feels a little bit easier and you're not too worried about like, oh, it looks really wonky some reason. Okay, so we fixed that angle right there. I think these are okay. They're not too bad. I think I can live with that. Other thing we're gonna have to do, fill that in first. Okay, so let's double check the angle of the characters real quick while we're still at it. From this top down angle, the shoulders should follow the same angles of the ovals. So if the shoulder is like this perspective, this cake would perhaps Need to be a little bit more elliptical rather than circular. Same goes for the plate, a little bit more elliptical. Otherwise, you're getting like multiple perspectives and it's gonna feel very confusing. So this one, we may want to make it just a little bit more oval shaped to match a similar angle. So your shoulders. It's okay if it's like a little rounder because here is farther away, so this part we can see more of the circle, but still it's a little too round for my taste. Just a little bit longer. Okay, this one can be round. This one, you may need to show a little bit more of his chest area, just a little bit, unless he's slouching forward like this, which hides the chest. If he's sitting back like this, you're gonna end up seeing some of the pecs showing up. So pecs would be right here, then the shoulder, and he's leaning back, and you can scoot this whole section forward so he feels like he's more relaxed. Okay, so let's do that real quick. Objects, this one. What I'm basically doing is trying to make sure that we don't have too many of the similar shapes next to each other. So your cake is like a round object, so for the plate you don't want to make it too super round, or it feels like you're repeating too much and it's gonna get trippy. So making it a little bit more oval. I know I'm getting rid of all your line work, but whatever. You'll fix that later. Yeah, still life. We're trying to pile it up so it looks aesthetically pleasing. Alright, just pretend that's good line art. This is not good line art at all. I definitely think that drawing line art on paper is way easier than I basically don't do line art ever again because on the computer it's really hard to do really smooth line art compared to on paper, which is why I feel like when I do want to do like line art based stuff, I tend to do on paper instead of on computer. So most of my stuff that you see, it's like everything's blended together. It also looks a lot smoother compared to like where on paper I feel like if you're doing line art, the paper gives it sort of that extra feel, so it works. Okay, the shakiest line art you'll ever see. Okay, whatever. Biggest issue here is if we draw a straight line across, you're going to see the problem immediately, Greta. Something is... Oh, that's pretty smart. Okay, anyway, do you see the big issue, Greta? Something is wrong with this image right here. So if you haven't noticed it by now, your table cuts straight through Angel. Angel's like basically cutting the table in half. So you need to make sure when you are doing like these kind of perspectives, even if you are leaning over it, it still wouldn't lean over this much. Do you see how you kind of made it so there's no overflowing of the clothing? If you're gonna do that in that case, then your table should your table should actually be showing more than Angel. So bye bye. Shoop, shoop, shoop. That is how far Angel should be. It's so subtle, but if once you kind of use your your straight tools, you're gonna notice it immediately, and then you'll see you can't go back, and you'll be like, oh shit, what have I done? And we're gonna shrink this down. I will be going over this in the clothing tutorial. It's not gonna be like whole clothing. It's just gonna be mostly the difference between doing skin tight clothing and baggy clothing. But when it comes to wrinkles, in the case for suits like this, you're not going to have a lot of excess fabric. In like, see how this side of the arm, the fabric's pretty tight to the arm. So that means the wrinkles aren't going to protrude from the arm shape too much. Before your wrinkle is basically like acting as a whole other section of the arm, is making a whole own shape. Whereas when you have such tight clothing like this, like the shirt I'm wearing right now, when you bend, this wrinkle actually gets sucked into your arm a little bit, and you'll only see a little bit of like the wrinkle popping out a little bit. So same with this kind of suit jacket, it's not going to pop out that much. So let me just throw that tie back in. And a tie is a very almost paper-like kind of structure, except it's fabric. So when it lays down on the table, it's going to take on the shape of like a rectangular prism. So when it folds over, it's going to have a straight edge, and you can kind of imagine it as two planes intersecting like this. Now, of course, because it's fabric, it can be flexible. His sleeve was like giant even though he wasn't in it. Yeah, so unless you are trying to make, say, Angel wears the super baggy outfit like this, like so baggy, like this baggy, this is how baggy that jacket would have to be in order for that wrinkle right here to make sense. Clean up that wrinkle. See, so the whole jacket would end up looking something like that, and you would have super excess fabric like this. But that's not the case for Angel, correct? He's wearing very nice tailored suit, a little bit, not super fit like Armani suits, but it's tailored enough that he can move around while he's working. So something like this. So we gotta shrink it down a little bit. And let us continue on with the perspectives. The collar here can push more this way because his face, this is that medial line or the center line. Let me choose a color that we'll see. If you can imagine it, because he's turned at like this weird 3/4, 5/6 angle or whatever it's called, this side, obviously you can have smaller sections, but this side's gonna get a little bit bigger because we see more of that shape. So we're always going to see more of the side that's closer to us versus the side that's away from us. And then we're gonna imagine for the suit jacket, this top part, the lapel, how does it work? So it's gonna wrap around his neck and come down. So if his shoulders are right here, his neck should not protrude farther than his shoulders, because our necks don't go this way. They're very much in line with the back of our shoulders because it's following our spine, right? So for our lapels, it should just meet right there. And that means we can give a little bit more space for this side for more of the shirt to show through instead of what you have here. Right now your suit jacket's like super tight closed up like this, whereas in like most suit jackets that I've seen are pretty wider, relaxed over here so you can see the actual shirt underneath it. And then you want to mirror both sides for the symmetry. And voila, do you see this is just a little bit bigger, and this is a little bit smaller, but that's still the idea. Try to imagine that if we draw an angle like this, this should follow that same angle. All those points should follow the same angle. And that's how you make symmetry. So let's fix up that symmetry a little bit. And I'm also going to give Angel a little bit more dress shirt opportunity. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer again. I was like, what the heck? Okay. There we go. That makes more sense now. And because it's kind of creating that V shape in the front, that means when you're looking at it from the inside, it should also follow that same V shape. And so it's going to bend a little bit. And let's give a little bit more space for the neck while we're at it. And since the neck isn't like exposed directly to light, it's probably most likely going to be all in shadow. If you really want to keep that light, you can just add a little bit right here, but honestly it's probably just gonna be in shadow because the shirt's gonna cast a shadow on it too. Yes. And then let's fix up the angle of this part. And oftentimes with suits, they end right at the shoulder right here. So the creasing should start at the apex of the shoulder, so the tallest point of the shoulder. So here, let's see. Aki's shoulders should be right here. Or not Aki, sorry, Angel's shoulders should be right here. So this dip that happens here is not as big as you would think it is, because it's not a very baggy suit. So instead, you're going to want to bring it up just a tad bit. So it's closer to that apex, because the suit's not that flexible. It's a little bit stiff. You can have a little bit of bagginess, but you need to get rid of some of these wrinkles. Since this suit isn't made of super baggy material, it doesn't make sense for there to be this much wrinkles. It's a very stiff kind of fabric. Let's get that color in there. So your suit might have like a very distinct wrinkle that happens wherever you have points of tension. I'm probably gonna define these a little bit better in the video, but points of tension are basically places where the fabric gets changed. So normal fabric hangs down, la-di-da, right? But when you're bending the fabric, it's going to respond to the way you bend it. So your arm, when it bends, this fabric's going to drape down to follow the gravity on the arm. You're going to get changes wherever you have the arm bending into it, and because it's going to crease the fabric together. You might not have as much elsewhere unless the fabric itself was originally super wrinkly and they didn't iron it out. You can have a little bit behind here because this is again another point of tension right here. The arm is stretching out, so the fabric is kind of pulling a little bit and it's going to pull P-O-O-L in different ways. And let's do a little bit of liquify to fix up the proportions. This arm should be a lot longer. Like a easy way to remember how long the arm should be is it's at least as long as like the top part of the arm. Let me unbutton my shirt and let me show you. If you haven't done this before as a kid, then you can take a time right now, like measure. You should take your foot and put it in like your forearm space. I can't unbutton it, whatever. Take your foot and put it in the forearm space, and you'll see that most of the time your foot's going to be the size of your forearm. And this right here is actually about the same size as your forearm. So we need to make sure that this part is the same as this part. So maybe I don't do it like this. Scoot this over. Don't have it too wide. The head should only be half of the size for the shoulders. So let's expand the size of those arms and the hands. I'm making him Slender Man. Some crazy body dysmorphia shit right here. Okay, that's wild, but it's needed to happen. So this, use your finger, measure. It's about the same size, so it's looking a lot better now. If you're never sure, zoom out and you can double check the proportions. When you're doing this, I would imagine that this arm actually pushes out instead of in, because you don't really rest your arm like this. It feels very awkward, not very comfortable, and it puts a lot of weight and strain on your shoulder joint and also your elbow joint. So you're obviously going to want to relax like this so you can put all the strength that needs to happen to your deltoids instead of your elbow joint. So we're going to push this arm back out this way. And have it so he looks a lot more relaxed than what he's doing right now. If you really want to, you could have just a little bit of the fabric fold over so it feels like the suit has some weight to it. Made gigantic wings. I know, Greta, you have to give him giant wings, because isn't that like his whole shtick? Like, he's Angel, so he should have huge wings. So even I'm still thinking it's not big enough, so I'm gonna torch you. We're gonna make it huge. Shoo. Oops. Zoom out. I can't do it like that. Shoo. We're gonna make it this big. Let me cut it out. Maybe that'd be better. We're gonna make it about, say, at least this big. He's not consistent. Yeah, but he's an angel, so we're gonna make it so his wings are his whole thing, okay? He's not gonna have tiny ass wings like some kind of, what's it called, Cardcaptor Sakura kind of character. We're gonna have it so he looks like some kind of archangel, like Michelangelo or something, I don't know. So, shoop, shoop, shoop. No fear. Okay, we're gonna make it at least maybe this big so it makes more sense that he's an angel, even though he's not. There we go. And we'll just give some basic shadows for the wings. So there's like a lot of different ways you can paint angel wings. So there are some angel wings that mimic a bird's feather wing. And like just how like bird wings have a lot of different types of ways, there are some that have this. Let me just look up some pictures of wings. So again, so like bird wings have a lot of different options. There are some that have like this shadow right here, and this whole section is like very small feathers and then long feathers. You have some that are not as divided. It's kind of just one single thickness all the way through. You might even have some that look like this. So it really depends on what type of wing you want to make, Greta, but for most, the way I like to paint angel wings, I make it real simple. I start with the basic top structure, which is where all the feathers are going to be connected towards it. So it's going to cast a very harsh, very large shadow on top of the wing. And then if you want to break it up, you can just add a few feathers here and there, paint it on top. I'm gonna put power behind the wings so I don't have to deal with this. There you go. Then after you're done, we go for the smaller feathers, which are going to be like medium size. You don't want to make it too long, since we're saving those for the very, very bottom. For the very bottom, come back in with like the shadow, because you need to be able to see that these feathers cast like a shadow. And you can bring back some of that light in there. Finish off for the bottom layer. Add a little bit more shadow before you come back in and kind of separate each feather. Just like how you have here, like the individual lines. And to really make Angel's wings pop just a little bit, we're gonna brighten up the top part. So we can see a little bit more contrast. Alright, something like that. Okay, let's go back to Angel. Fix up his hand so he looks more natural. Doing this should be on his face, not on his hair. The hair is gonna immediately go like this. And unless the hair is made of hairspray and it's conking pretty hard. See how it makes more sense automatically? Where's my music? There we go. Oops. And then this is where gravity kind of tests your knowledge of physics. You have to think about which direction is gravity pulling on this jacket. So if he's leaning this way, gravity's pulling the shirt down this way. So the suit should be hanging out more towards the side that's facing the bottom compared to this side. This is going to lean on his arm instead. And you might want to double check the perspective of the hand a little bit. Because again, if you're leaning like this, right, even if I tilt a little bit higher, you're pretty much not going to see any of these knuckles right here. You're only seeing this whole section right here. Like maybe I'll let you like show just a little bit over here, but hands are hard. Yes, they are hard, which is why I don't actually draw hands when I'm drawing hands. I think it's gonna take a long time to get really comfortable with them. Like even I don't say that I'm good with every single angle of hands. There are some like really common hand positions that once you kind of get down, it's easy to just be able to do it again. But say like this kind of hand position, these types of positions where the fingers are bending, these are the hardest to kind of capture because it's a very specific positioning, very specific ratio between the fingers, and if you don't get them right, it feels very off. And fists are like one of the harder things to draw. On God, I swear to goodness. And this will get rid of the thumb because the thumb is not hiding up here when you're doing this. It's not like right here. How would you even show that? I don't think your thumb's long enough. So it's actually tucked aligned with your bottom knuckles, so you're not gonna see it. And in that case, let's tilt his head a little bit to kind of line up with the fist a little bit more. Something like that. And that pose feels a lot more natural, and you can also see more of the shirt and the suit. And this also means we have to fix the hair because that's not the right. Yeah, because when I think of someone leaning on their hand, the elbow on the table, unless it's like super high up like this, then your face like stays like this. But most of the time the table's a little bit lower, so the face has to fall down a little bit to match the height of the fist. So when you do that, the pose feels a lot more relaxed, very easygoing, very chill, kind of casual kind of mood. So I'm not worrying too much about the hairstyle right now. It's just fixing up the logicalness of the hair, making sure it falls down in the right spot. So cover this up first. And then at this point, this part's all in shadow, so goodbye. And if you want, you can do little drapes of hair like this, little strands. Oops. I already forgot how his hair looks like. Okay, lots of loosey-goosey strands. the skull's also not perfectly round. It's like very almost like a round rectangular circle shape. So this part is round, of course, but the sides are actually a lot flatter. So when you draw the head shape, you want to match that kind of same vibe. So the head doesn't look like it's a bowl cut, and it also kind of gives a little bit more interest, you know? So let's throw some more strands in there. Shoop. For this hair that's kind of right underneath the hand, what I tend to like to do is kind of break up the hair a little bit so it doesn't look like a big chunk. You can add some strands that are kind of falling off. The hair is kind of getting caught up and pushed into the face, so that way it feels like a little bit more natural and a little bit more interesting to look at. Let's also be careful about the angle of the eyes. I know his eyes are... Where are they? A little bit downturned. But we still gotta keep that same roundness to the shape of it. So if it's downturned, that means this inner corner is going to be higher than this part. And at this angle, I would assume that that would make the whole eye look really, really weird. The downturned eyes. Okay, let's bust out Portrait Studio and we're going to analyze like how does downturned eyes get changed with the angle? Because I know that with the angle change, zoom, go away. With like this kind of eye perspective, everything gets kind of pushed upwards. But since downturned eyes don't follow that same kind of medial line, it might not be as upturned. Okay, so eye shape, we gotta do eye rotation. Eye rotation, we're gonna downturn just a little bit. I think that's like crazy. This is like something you might see. Slight downturn. I'll exaggerate just a little bit more. There you go. So if we go this angle, it still follows. So if we can imagine this is that curve around the face, it definitely does not lie on top of that. It's gonna go more straight. So if we draw that line, we'll actually need to do it on wrong layer. We'll need to go down a little bit more to make it look more downturned. And no matter how like the angle is, the eye still needs to be like a circle because the pupils, not the pupils, the irises are a circle. They're just at different directions. And to make Angel really look at you, you want to exaggerate, make sure it's lined up closer to the edge of your eye than in the middle. Because right now you have a lot of space on this side, so the eyes look like he's looking straight ahead instead of looking towards the viewer. So we're going to scoot that over. He looked high. It's because the big spacing underneath the eye. If you scoot this up a little bit and you don't do as much space, he might not look as high. Well, it's just because his pupils, his irises are like half moons. If you do like full eyes and his eye shapes aren't like droopy, then he might not look high, but his eye shape is like droopy dog, so can't fix it there. Eepy boy, so who cares about what Misu says? He draws so much Makima, so he can't say anything about that. No, I haven't. I've only like started, I only started reading a little bit about... What did I last read? Last I read was the War Devil. That's all I remember reading. And I haven't read past it because I'm waiting for more chapters to pile up. Because I like to binge read like crazy. Ooh, no spoilers, Greta, no spoilers. I can only imagine he's a crazy son of a bitch. Does it get even more wild than the ending of the first act? Because if it does, then oh boy, I'm in for a treat. It does. I'm still, it's like the same vibe as me not wanting to read JJK because I'm too scared. Like at this point, I kind of have been spoiled a little bit and I just don't want, I'm in denial. Yeah, I haven't read Chainsaw Man or JJK in a while because I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid for all of them. People, all the reels that I see, they're all like, oh my god, it's fucking psycho. And I'm like, stop, scroll past, I can't. But maybe with Memorial Day weekend, I'll catch up and I'll just cry in bed. Maybe he wouldn't kill off his characters if he wasn't so overworked. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so making sure everything is still that round shape. If you don't like the whole like really obvious pupil, you can just get rid of it and keep it real simple like this. One thing I do want to note is that the eye has shadow and it also has light, so we can't just do it in one value. We do have to add a little bit of light back into it, so you can do it with a soft brush or you can do it more harsh, like cartoony. It's up to you, Greta, but we're gonna try to go a little bit lighter, not white. So you get a little bit more of that shape. You get a round shape for Angel's eye. So let's finish up the hair because I ruined it. I went, fuck it. We'll Oh, maybe some of the hair falls onto the table or something. I don't know, some shit like that. Make it as messy as possible. The trendy wolf cut. Okay, something like that. I love the way you do highlights here, so make sure you bring it back up here. Just bring it a little higher because the light source is up and not down. Don't let common manga habits mistake you, but highlights are a little bit higher up here, so bring them up just a tad bit. Like somewhere up here a little bit more. You can do like a little bit of highlight down there, but not as much. Okay, let's do this right here. Would get some of that wrinkly, so you can draw that line right there if you wanted to. And let's relax the tie a little bit, so we'll give it a little more shape, so skinny to fat. Shoop. Something like that. Okay. This hand, same idea. If you're not sure how to draw the hand at this angle, we're going to simplify it into two sections that you have to think about it. First, it's the top section, the stuff that's going to see the light of day. The other one is going to be in a little bit more shadow, and it's going to follow the same angle as that hand. Creates that kind of trapezoidal shape. Then we come back in for that curled finger move. And from here, it's pretty easy for you now to kind of figure out, okay, so the hand needs to go this way. In each individual fingers, obviously this is not how you would draw or paint the actual hand, but this might be one way you can kind of cheat a little bit and make your life a little bit easier. I don't know, maybe the wolf cut is kind of going out of style now, or maybe I'm just too ignorant and I haven't actually seen anyone my age for a while. Yeah, like most of the reels I see, not a lot of people getting it anymore, so Okay, so then you see you have yourself a hand, right? You can just add back some of that little bit of shadow if you want. Right here, we're gonna make it a little bit more warm because shadows next to fingers, because you have two fingers together, the light or the blood vessel underneath the skin is gonna cast a warmer glow on the shadow. And you can make it nice and thick for the knuckle shadows if you want. We're just eyeballing it right here. Go even warmer if you want, especially for like bounce light from the table or whatever. Okay, and then fixing up the angle of the shirt, because the shirt is wrapping around the arm is a round object. So see how my shirt here wraps relatively rounder? Same needs to go for the suit. And then might as well throw in that shadow. And then you would see a little bit more of his shoulder over on this side because you're popping out. Oops. And this right here would have a little bit of that wrinkle, and it drapes down a little bit. Okay, so that would be the approximate fixes for Angel. For Aki, we're going to bust out his pecs because he needs to be slouching to be relaxed. And in order for him to slouch, I'm going to shrink the size of the table a little bit or move him down so he can actually do that. Scoot. In that case, I'm going to make the canvas just a little bit bigger. And let's scoot Aki down a little bit so he can breathe after eating all that cake. And how do you tell if this is the right angle? Well, everything should be lined up following this kind of imaginary angle, so his shoulders should be somewhat close or like facing towards Angel. I know he gotta unbutton his pants and like have room for all that cake, so he needs to be slouching. Ain't nobody eating cake like a prissy tea party unless you are like a princess or whatever, but most people, they're gonna be relaxed when they eat cake, so we gotta make sure he got that slack. So that means I'm gonna see more of his neck, more of his chest over here, less of that shoulder. Push it back a little bit. It doesn't have to be too much, just a little bit. And again, with any fabric or anything that's on, like that has actual weight or mass, you don't want to just have it super close to the skin. So when you are drawing fabrics on like something, you don't want to draw it like this unless it's skin tight fabric, like a legging or like a spandex or stocking. Actual clothes will have sort of a little bit of weight, so you want it to protrude out just a little bit so it feels like it has that same weight. For clothing that are super puffy, it's going to have its own kind of land mass, basically its own country. So those are the three options when it comes to drawing clothing, baggy or not baggy. Okay, let's put some of the objects under the characters. Yeah, let's do that. under the characters. Doesn't make sense for it on top. That also means maybe you'll have some of the jacket kind of pooling a little bit farther out than his body. His leg is going to be underneath here. Swish, swish the feet, or like the shoe right here, somewhere around there. I'll just give it a quick little shine. Something like that. I don't know. It's a really messy dress shoe, but it gets the job done. And because the shoulders are not pushed back, you get more of a square shoulder instead of that round shoulder that Angel over here has a little bit more. So the lapel gets that squareness to it too, as it wraps around. Sounds goof. It's become a habit. You're basically calling me a goofball, Greta. Oops, my music. Which you're not wrong. I am a goof sometimes. Let me turn off my Portrait Studio so I don't waste my GPU. Yeah, it's okay. We're all clowns in this community. Okay, let's fix up these eyes. They're wonking up AF. So they're not following the imaginary curve. Over here, the eye. Let's see, let me do it on a different layer. This needs to be foreshortened a lot more. And so if you can imagine it, the eyeball should look something like this, round shape on the edge. You're not going to see the other side of the eye because you're turned so far that this part of the corner of the eye is kind of hiding away, saying peekaboo. And Aki doesn't look like he's looking at us because you don't have enough of the iris turned towards us. There's still so much of that sclera showing, so that's why it feels very off. So here, no side eye, you're just gonna see eyeball. And make this tilt a little bit more because, again, it's sideways 3/4 view. And then if you want, you can have some of the bottom lid pop out a little bit so it shows that the eye has some mass. And if you're going to draw the eye shape like this, you got to bring the rest of the eye in there and color it. Don't just ignore it. Don't be like, oh, it should just, you know, suddenly end. Yes, it's very, very hard. I understand. So this is why you might want to consider drawing it as basic shapes first. So how would I go about this shape? So first of all, I would figure out where is my medial line and where is the eye line going to line up on. So if you decide like this is where the brow bone is going to be, you're going to start the curve over here and you're going to try to match up the type of top-down angle it is. So draw your circles if you need to, try to match it up with similar circles nearby. Your shoulders are very much showing a lot more, but this head right here, you're not like exactly top down, so obviously you're not going to have like perfectly curved. It's going to be a very slight gradual curve. And once you've got it, you can identify where your eye line is going to start, and you're going to go curve, curve. Just don't worry about eye shapes just yet. You want to make sure you line them up first, and then we're going to figure out the general direction of the clam shape. So the clam shape should end up showing more of this side, because if it were more this way, you would see more of that other side. But in these situations, decide where you're going to have the bottom eye go. And you can do this by just drawing another curve that follows the same angle. This may need to go a little higher. Okay, and you can use this as a guideline for like, where am I gonna end that eye? So if I say, okay, I want to end there, at this angle, it's going to look more like a teardrop shape or like a weird triangle shape, because this part, top part, is going to kind of overlap and cover up a whole bunch, most of the eye. This bottom half right here is gonna basically be saying, I'm saying sayonara, I'm being covered up, overshadowed by the main character of this party. And because this part right here is basically, if you feel your eye socket right here, this is that eye socket section, so it's going to create this swoopy effect underneath for the bottom eyelid. And depending on if you have, say, I don't know, if you have really poofy eyes, eye bags, you might see more. If you don't, if you only have like a crease eyelid, maybe it's going to get covered up very much when it turns this way. Same for this eye. This part is foreshortened, so you can have a little bit shorter, but over here is going to be most extended. I should have kept my portrait studio. Hold a sec, let's come back in. This shit's like crack. If you've ever had like the tiny bottles of Yakult, this is basically a big version of the Yakult. It's a yogurt drink. It's so freaking good. Yeah, so if you ever wanted to drink more of the Yakult instead of like the tiny bottles, they come in big sec versions. This is just from the brand. It's like a Chinese brand, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to get it unless you have like a 99 Ranch or an Asians. Supposedly, this is called, I don't know if you know Chinese, but if you see this picture, this is the brand. It's with Neza, which is from like the Chinese animation. Okay, anyway, let's go. Ah. Okay, so this is probably that angle. Yes, let's shrink this down a little bit. Not too far from you. Yeah, you should check it out. I think they were on sale for about, it's usually about like $16 for a pack of like 12, but when my family bought it, it was like $14, which is a pretty good deal. Okay, let's go a little bit less. Okay, so you see how this whole nose bridge right here is going to cover up most of the eye. Here gets shrunken down, this can get extended. And of course this eye is like very straight across. The eye is drawn very straight across, there's no upturn or downturn. But for Aki, I think he might have just a little bit of downturn, if I remember. I don't remember anymore. He might be upturned actually. Yeah, he's like a slight downturn. A slight downturn, okay. Yeah, if it's slight downturn, it's gonna go point down a little bit more then. So instead of going straight down, which is actually going to be an upturned eye, you'll angle it down a little bit more. And you're not going to get this extra line out there. This happens because the eye is like turning towards that fold. If the eye is turning away from the fold, you don't get that line as obviously. And our eyebrows are still round, Greta. No matter what angle they are, no matter how straight you draw them, they are round because your eyebrows are round. So I usually try to draw in the nose bridge first, so then I can kind of base the nose bridge for drawing the other eye and just finish it off by drawing like a nice clam shape. Nose, eye. If you have long lashes, you can have it protrude out a little bit. The eyelid might be right here. If you have like extreme hooded eye, the eyelid right here, the fatty tissue is going to overlap. If not, it's pretty flat. And then you can just show off just a little bit of the under eye. Again, depending on if you have a very fatty under eye or just like a very skinny fold. Slight downturn. Every character has a little bit of depression. It wouldn't be Chainsaw Man without some kind of sense of craziness or depression. So let's fix this eye a little bit, Greta. We're gonna downturn it a little bit. The spiciness of Chainsaw Man is all the messed up characters. Give the eyebrow a little bit more evenness so Aki can slay every day. Have I been reading anything good recently? I'm trying to remember. What have I been reading? I was reading Kaiju number 9. Like I know they had the anime came out a while back, but I have been saving that on my list. It's pretty good. It's very reminds me of like My Hero Academia vibes. So if you like shonen like that, then you would probably like it. Yes, it's very fun. I think the art's really nice, so that was one perk. But it's like kind of slow a little bit. Even I'm like caught up to the like latest chapter at like chapter 90 or something, and they're still just kind of not he's not like OP yet. Which I guess is fair. Not everyone can be like One Punch Man or whatever from the start. Yeah, he hasn't gotten the girl. He still hasn't like caught up to the commander or whatever her face is. She's like, my childhood friend, I'm so betrayed by your incompetence. And I'm like, dude. As if he can control that. What else have I been reading? Thinking. Nothing really new has caught my eye lately, so it's mostly been pretty chill, just watching TV dramas and stuff. I was very disappointed by the end of HS, so I don't know if I will ever watch it again. It's been disappointing for like the last few seasons. You haven't watched? I think if you like horror and stuff, the first few seasons were pretty good, but afterwards kind of got very... Some of it got very repetitive or like very monotonous. So it's also pretty messed up, some of the stuff that they show. Dungeon Meshi? How is it? Do a little bit more of a smile. Your one-time favorite? Maybe I should read it first. I'll see. I like to judge anime based on the manga. If the manga is anything good, the anime is usually good. I still haven't watched Solo Leveling, even though it's like one of my all-time favorite manhwa. Really good at creating real people. That's nice. Okay, I do like those types of mangas, so I will go check it out. You give him the highlight. ORV. I tried to read ORV, but I couldn't get into it. But Solo Leveling is very solid. It has a very good pacing, plenty of action. The art's god tier, so if you do like shonen stuff, then I would definitely give it a read. Omniscient reader, I feel like, I don't know, I couldn't get into it. Even though the protagonist and the art's like really good, this first episode, the first chapter just couldn't hook me. So I'm like, damn, that's quite unfortunate. I'm gonna give his eye a little bit more of that sclera, so he looks like he's looking up at us. But already you can see how the angle is a lot better. I'm gonna get rid of this eyelash so he doesn't look too feminine. I want to be careful about that with style and stuff. And we're just gonna make his eyebrows just a little bit thicker so he reads more male. An ear size, it needs to be slightly bigger, should line up like this with the eye, line up with the nose. And you can draw the ear really quick, Greta. It doesn't have to be super foldy like you. You could just do this fold of the ear, this fold, and voila, it's done. You caught yourself an ear. I know there's a lot of different types of ears that exist, like, but they all have that main structure that it's gonna have. It's gonna have that back fold right here. Depending on like the type of ear, it might be bigger, it might be smaller. And then you have that kind of curl into the ear right here, and then this whole section right here is typically in shadow, very gappy. And depending if you have a connected ear, I already forgot what it's called, a connected ear or a not connected ear, that's where you would make the difference. Most people just draw it like not connected, like this, hanging. You could have some ears that hang out like that a lot more. We're just gonna opt for a middle ground today. Let's see, Yuto-san. Yes, nice ear. See, do you see like the ear fold? It's very simple. They didn't do too much folds like you did. That's the simplicity of like art. You can try to mimic the ear shape without doing all the crazy nonsense. Like I know that real ears, of course, there's gonna be some that have like crazy amounts of fold, but when you're kind of short on time or like you just want to get the message across, what is the most important thing you want to communicate? So let's give him some more hair. It's too short. And then when you zoom out, you're gonna see that his skull is like humongo, like he's a baby. So let's shrink it down a little bit, make it match more so he doesn't look like a newborn child. A little bit more reasonable. If you really want, you can add a little highlight right here underneath the brow bone just to kind of emphasize the shape of the eye. And that way the nose feels like it has more structure. Keep drawing. I mean, who wouldn't love Angel and Aki? Such hot and sexy men. Okay, let's fix up the shadow here. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the color choices, and then we'll call it there, okay? So for where's power? Power, we're just gonna fix up. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. I'm just gonna make it so her hair's a little bit bigger, so she got nice hair. Okay. For shadows, what I would suggest is you want to go for blue shadows because everything is very pink light. So where's your rendering? Instead of using this color, I'd probably go a little bit more either this but desaturated and a little bit lighter, or I go for sort of a cyan-y color so it looks nice, because purples and blues are your tea and biscuits. So we might as well jump into it, utilize it to the max. So I'm not going to use this because that was messed up. It's messed up now. Cyan would be a really cool color combination for you to try. So you can try with this first to get some of like the deeper shadows, and then for any crazy colors that you want to try, like say for this, you could try doing pure cyan for the shadow. Because this is the light source, right, Greta? So this lamp's not going to have shadow up here. Yeah, my IG grid, no consistency whatsoever. It's whatever colors and vibes I'm feeling at the moment. Y'all will be subjected to it. So when you use this cyan color, it's gonna make everything feel very moody, very sad boy hours. So this whole section should be in shadow. You might get a little shadow behind here because the light is shining. Vibes. Vibes indeed. So anything that's white will get more of that blue shadow versus, say, your purples. Since it's below us. That's garbage shading, but whatever, you get the idea. All this right here is gonna get shadow because Angel is casting a shadow onto the table by leaning over it. Shadow under the arm, shadow, shadow, shadow. And then I'll show you a different option for shadow colors after I'm done with this one. Because for sure, if you just keep using blue everywhere, it's going to turn out a little bit very sad boy. You could do a little bit of shadow against the table and the wall so the table can kind of separate from the wall a little bit and it doesn't look like one same value. Okay, so other option for this shadow is we can do a little bit warmer. I'm not saying purple because if you do purple, do you see how too similar it looks? I would just probably go maybe around here. Pure cyan might look something like this. We'll go more of a purpley blue color and then reduce the saturation just a little bit. So it feels a little bit closer to a shadow color, but it's still purpley and it keeps this very monotone look. Whereas if you did this one, very, very contrasty. My music stopped because I adjusted my headphones, so hold on a sec. There. Whereas this one is very very bright or very contrasty, so your shadows don't feel like a color that's local to all the color palettes that you use. Yeah, it is kind of nice, but you do have to be careful. Maybe sometimes you don't use all of that blue. Maybe sometimes you'll sprinkle it in with a little bit of purple color or pink color, just so the shadows have more variety. Like for the cake, maybe you don't do pure blue. Like I'm gonna add a little pink shadow just so it feels warmer. Like the edges of shadows, where like the light can touch it a little bit more, you can brighten it up with a little pink. Let me bring in a overlay layer. Let's see. Let's decide if we're gonna do it like this. I don't know if you want it to be a spotlight like this, Greta. Because if we do a spotlight like this, then we're gonna need to darken up a lot of things. So and then shoop, 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 shoop. And we get ourselves a ooh, spicy, very dramatic scene. Like they're in some kind of like midnight diner, cafe diner. If it's too harsh for you, this looks very detective vibe. If it's too harsh for you, then obviously we don't do that. And instead we'll go for a very soft light. We'll just focus on come on. If this spotlight is too harsh for you, what you want to do is just add a little glow for underneath the light, very soft. And we're going to darken up the tops. Just a little bit, because I still need some kind of contrast. I can't just have everything in the light, or else this is going to give me the assumption that there's light from above and then this spotlight is doing jack shit. Like, what's the point of having this lamp, right? Let's also throw in the shadow over here. In that case, potentially this whole section may be in shadow instead. Since the light from above isn't a strong light, something like that maybe. Yeah, something like that. This is obviously the light you're gonna have to play around with, maybe upping some of the contrast in the highlights a little bit in order for the light to read properly, because just adding this light source is not enough for the picture to feel like it's that top-down lighting. Again, you can always do an interrogation lighting if you feel like you want to troll someone, troll your online friend. Let me delete this. Oh no, my shtick is frozen. But otherwise, you can just keep with this very soft lighting and it'll still work. It's frozen. Hopefully I am not frozen. My computer really just said no because I decided to open both Portrait Studio and Photoshop at the same time. It was like, how dare you try to use your GPU and CPU to the max? And I'm also streaming, so my computer just really said nope. Let me pause. Okay, give it some time, please. It's ready to say goodbye. I wanted to start my Memorial Day weekend. Oh goody, my stream is still on. What a treat. I guess Okay, oh, it's back. Okay, other option is an interrogation scene, which I feel like could be something interesting to do. You could make it, I don't know. There's like neon signs and stuff, or gentle lighting. This can be a little bit more subtle, not too drastic. Okay, so that's it for your critique. I will save this. And then I'll just work on, we have about an hour left, so I guess I'll just work on my mermaid thing that I started, but I still haven't finished. For the tutorial I did start, I got most of the footage down. I need to record a little bit more footage to get some more details on like actual how to draw the clothing, because this part is just me demoing how to like paint it, how to think about it. If you see what I stole the "It's Okay Not to Be Okay" outfit. Her outfit is so pretty, so it's great to show you how to do folds and ruffles. So let's do some mermaid stuff, because I'm probably not gonna finish it if I don't do it now. Let me see. My garbage naming scheme. Alright, go grab some dinner, Greta. And I'm gonna keep working on this. Damn. Go grab some dinner. I'll probably end the stream early to kind of celebrate for Memorial Day. And I'll work on this myself. But for anyone who is in my time zone, welcome, welcome. We're here to draw bobos. I think there's too many scales over here, so I am going to reduce it. Okay, for boob mechanics, let's see. This part should be in shadow. This part can be in light. I can't decide if I want to make this part scales or actual like fabric. Alright, might as well paint some hands so I can think about that decision for a little bit. Let's see if anyone on my Insta has caught notification. Vibing in the background. It's okay. Go grab your dinner. I'm just gonna see if more people want to join in, because I totally did not post on my Instagram story at all. I'm also pretty MIA on IG recently because I'm just too busy with work and stuff. So work-life balance is hard. This must be the most interesting stream ever, just watching me do nothing. It's okay, just enjoy the art, enjoy the music. Maybe one of these days I'll do a spin the wheel kind of drawing stream or something. I don't know. What do people even stream for art these days? Alright, let's warm up those fingers. Short crits for the server people. Stream their work. I feel like that's really what most artists do for streaming. Can't imagine there's like a lot of variety when it comes to art streams. So whoever does, you know, one of these days there's gonna be some kind of VTuber artist that's gonna really make it big, and that's gonna be so funny. Imagine a VTuber artist making an OnlyFans. God damn. Okay, let's do fabric wrinkles and highlights. It's my absolute favorite. Let's see. Alright, this is really confusing for me. Here we're gonna do some pops of that brilliant blue. Fabrics are one of the hardest things to learn to paint. Even I kind of finagle it sometimes. I kind of cheat a little bit. I don't actually paint them accurately, but one day I will become an art god and I will be able to paint fabrics like no one's business. Yes, I did. I decided for the backlighting one because I feel like in my mind I imagined the waves to be the thing that's glowing, because I was really inspired by these waves, like the bioluminescent waves. Let me show you my inspo pics. Where is it? It was this picture, this opalescent kind of glowing waves. So I really like that kind of color, so I wanted to try to do something like that. Obviously, it's very hard to translate what you have in your head into actual practice, so if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, well, it is what it is. If it never makes it out of my drafts, you know why. because right here. There. Okay. Because there's like a lot of shadows going on. So my options are to follow this exactly or to do it my own style, which I feel like at this point it's kind of too late to go back. So I just have to commit to this. Okay, gotta get that wet dress feel. So some of this dress is gonna be hella transparent. And let's make this look like it's part of the waves. Alright, bye bye Greta. I'll probably sign off after a couple more minutes, since I would like to go eat something too. But have a good Memorial Day weekend. Bye bye. I will send you the crit file in a little bit, okay? Alright, let's look up some scales, because I don't know a goddamn scale from another scale. Oh, someone followed me. Welcome, welcome. We're just painting mermaids today. Let me see if I can change the top tail. Ba, 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 ba. Alright, we updated that stream name for the two of you who are here. Uh-oh. Okay, so what makes up a scale is the question. Oof, my inability to paint scales has really come through right now. It's kind of working. Okay, time to use some different colors. just getting lazy here. We're not drawing scales at this point. Maybe. Alright, I don't know I did get too much done, but I'm tired. We're gonna call it an early Memorial Day weekend, so I hope this was helpful for your other fellow artists, and I will see you next month, or maybe I will do another stream this month. But that's a big maybe. Got a lot of shit to do. So bye bye everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.